Everybody, welcome to the Blue Heart webcast with Lieutenant Joe Pangaro, your host. So, what we're going to talk about today is recently we've done a bunch of our courses through Pangaro training, interview skills, roadside interview, criminal investigation, sexual assault. All of these courses include a portion of the class that is dedicated specifically to interview techniques. Now, all of you that have been listening and watching for a while know that my book, The Interview, from Baloo 360 Media, my publisher, is the soup to nuts guide on how to conduct a thorough and complete criminal interview. So, while I've talked about things in the past, we covered a lot of these topics. I'm going to cover today what we're calling the Big Four. These are four things you need to keep in mind when you're interviewing anybody, whether it's a roadside interview, a suspicious person stop, or a custodial interview. If you keep these things in mind, these big four, it will help you to do a good interview. All right, so the first thing I want to reiterate and remind people of a couple of things. We have to ask ourselves, why would somebody confess or make admissions to you? All right. So anybody knows my background. I come from a town where there was really no crime. And I went to a town to be a police officer, and there was a lot of crime. There was homicides, there was drug dealing, there was sexual assaults, there was all kinds of things going on. And I was immersed in this. And one of the things I did is I watched the other cops, and I watched who was good at talking to people, whether it was a roadside interview and how they talked to somebody or whatever. And then I saw who was not good, and I saw the problems that those officers had. And I started to learn over the course of time what actually works with people. And that's what we pass on. So when I wrote the book, The Interview, I put in there stories and techniques and all of the things that we teach in our class that can help you be better at what you do. So the first thing you have to say is, why would somebody confess to you? Why would somebody tell you they did something? Well, we have to understand that in general, the average human being out there has a need to cleanse their conscience. They want to ease the burden of doing something bad, even really bad people. Why do they tell? Why do they, was there such a thing as, jailhouse confessions and this and that? Because they have a need to tell people things. So we can use that in our favor to understand people have a tendency to want to talk. Why don't they talk right away? Because they're afraid of consequences. All right. They have jeopardy. All right. So anyone who's taken my course understands that the point I want you to know is that the reason that these techniques work, and they can work for you, anybody can do this. Like I said, I came from a town with no crime. I didn't grow up with crime. I didn't commit crime. And all of a sudden, I'm immersed in a place where there's lots of crime, and I'm dealing with people who do it. Why do they talk? Well, they have jeopardy. So jeopardy is the thing, the feeling, the emotion that someone has that's going to make them react. It's going to make them display different kind of body language that you can look at, that you can say, wow, this looks like deception. All right, so we're going to cover these big four and a couple of little ancillary concepts that I think we need to understand. All right, so the concept of jeopardy means if somebody has something to lose, if they're going to get in trouble, they're going to be penalized at work, they're going to be written up, they're going to go to jail, whatever it is, when they have that jeopardy and they feel, oh no, I don't want to get in trouble, and you're asking them questions about what they did, that's when you're going to see the body language. That's when you're going to hear the answers. And one of the things you're going to hear is what's called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance means cognitive, you're thinking, and dissonance means disarray. So what happens is, if I am prepared for your questions, right? Say I'm a person, I did something and I've thought about it, and you say to me, so what were you doing in that 7-Eleven? And I don't want to say, I was in there to rob the place, but I know I have to answer because I was found there or I'm on video or whatever. I have jeopardy. I'm going to get in trouble. So I might have thought out a couple of, oh, I just stopped in to get a coffee. And, all of a sudden I saw something weird going on and I ran there. It looked like somebody was doing something behind the counter and I got out of there, right? they don't have much answers beyond that. So when you start to ask them questions they're not prepared for, you're going to see that there's going to be confusion. You're going to see that they're not sure. They're trying to think through their answer. They're trying to determine, uh-oh, how do I answer this and not get myself in trouble? And that's jeopardy. Jeopardy is what makes people answer in strange ways. It makes their breathing be different, their eye contact, how they respond to you in general. So we have to understand that if somebody has jeopardy, you're often going to see with that, you will see cognitive dissonance. Okay. You will see this sentences come out jumbled. Hey, what were you doing at 7-Eleven? I know you said you went in there to get coffee and you saw something, but we have video and we're going to take a look at that video and see if what you're telling us matches it. So what were you doing there? Well, I went in to get a cup of coffee and then I said, this ain't for me. I'm out of here. So the way that sentence is all jumbled up, the reason that that happens is because the person is thinking really hard. How do I answer this cop's question without sounding like I did anything and move along here? Because I'm uncomfortable. I'm not prepared to answer these questions. So cognitive dissonance is huge. When you see that, that means deception. So what are the two things that we look for when we talk to anybody? There's only two. We look for truth and we look for deception. We look for truth and deception. If you see truth and you're comfortable with their answers and it matches your investigation and the witnesses and all of that stuff, you can pretty much move on from that person. But if you see deception, right, you start to see that they're being deceptive to you. They're dancing around the question. They're repeating things back to you. They're not being truthful. You can just tell that they're lying. Maybe something they said doesn't match the video. It doesn't match witness statements. Then you know that they're being deceptive. So one of the things I get asked all the time is, well, if somebody's deceptive, does that mean they're guilty? Well, it can mean that they're guilty, but deception can also mean that there's other things that they don't want to talk about, they don't want you to know about. Doesn't necessarily have to do with the crime. It could have to do with what they're doing in that area of town, who they were with that day, and they don't want other people to know. Maybe it's an affair, something like that. So people can be deceptive without being guilty. But we see truth, we move on. We see deception, we have to ask questions. You have to follow up till you understand why they're being deceptive. Is it because they're guilty? Or is it because they're trying to hide something else, right? So we work our way through that. Get the book, right? The interview. Get the interview. You can get it from Amazon or you can get it at blue360media.com. It's going to help you a lot. All right, so here's the big four. Now that we understand jeopardy motivates everything when it comes to people answering and how they answer, and cognitive dissonance, we understand that. Here's the big four, and this is right out of my book. If you understand and use these big four topics, they're going to help you conduct a good interview where you're going to be able to decipher truth from deception and then hopefully move forward and get a confession or an admission. Number one, the number one thing we have to do is diminish the words we use. We diminish the words we use. And here's an example. Listen, this young lady said you raped her, and I want to talk to you about that. Does anybody want to talk about rape? The word rape means what? You're going to jail if you did this, right? So instead, listen, this girl says you had sex with her. Oh, had sex with, that's different, right? That you see how it diminishes what it is. Hey, listen, we're talking about a street robbery here where somebody ran up and yanked the phone out of a guy's hand. Okay, street robbery. That's not good. Strong arm robbery. How about instead, listen, did you take that guy's phone? Right? Did you take his phone? Why would you take his phone? Right? So what it does when you diminish things, you bring it down a level so it doesn't sound as intense. And that brings us to part number two. So we diminish our words. Instead of raped, we said had sex with. Instead of burglarized, we say, did you go into? Did you go into that building? Did you go into that house? Right? We diminish the words. Number two is we want to develop and use what I call possibilities. Possibilities. These are other reasons that somebody could have done something that's diminished. I guess that's the best way to say it. So here's how you might do. You might talk to a person and find out that they got problems at home, they got money problems, they got this and that, and money is missing from work and from a safe in an office, and they are one of the suspects. You might say something like, "Hey, listen, you told me that you have a very sick mom and she has no insurance and she needs expensive medicine. Man, that must be terrible. I can imagine how tough that must be. Is it possible that you went into that safe and you took that money to get your mother medicine and you were going to put it back on payday, but they did an audit before then and that's how this happened. Is that possible, right? That you took the money because your mother needed medicine. So you see how you diminish it and then you give them a possibility that is more societally acceptable. And that's the key, more societally acceptable. The third thing of the big four is you offer alternatives. Alternatives are directly linked to the possibilities, right? So what you want to say, hey, is it possible that you took that money to get your mother medicine? Now, who wouldn't understand that? How societally acceptable could that be? That even though, yes, it's wrong, you shouldn't have taken it, but you did it for a good reason. As opposed to, well, listen, I took the money because I got two girlfriends on the side and I like to gamble in Atlantic City. Well, there's really there's no compassion for someone who did that, but somebody who took money to get their mother medicine, and that's an example. So you get your possibilities when you're talking to the person initially about anything other than the crime you're investigating. Talk about the baseball team they like, what they're doing that summer. Do they garden? Do they have kids? How's their parents? You get all that information, and that helps you find possibilities, and then you offer alternatives to them to describe what they did that is more societally acceptable, right? And then the fourth one is you show compassion. Right now, most people we deal with, especially in the criminal element, they don't get a lot of compassion from most people, and they don't get it from law enforcement. Normally, we're very tough with them. We're locking them up, and they don't trust us, right? They don't trust what to do. But if you consider using compassion, try to understand, put yourself in that person's place. So if you've diminished the words, you've given them some possibilities of why they could have done something that is less than bad. And then you've offered them alternatives that are societally acceptable. When you show compassion, you're telling this person that, yeah, they might be in trouble, but you are a decent officer. And if they go along with it, maybe they can get over on you that, yeah, I stole the money so I could take care of my mother, that you're going to help them through the charges. Maybe it'll be a less of a charge. Maybe you'll say something to the judge. Hey, Your Honor, he admitted he stole it, but you know what? He took the money to get his mother medicine. And who couldn't understand that and then offer them a little bit of maybe an ameliorated sentence because of what they did. So by showing compassion, it helps us connect to the person, which you need a bond with them, even a short time bond, so that they'll trust you, right? So the other way I think of compassion is this. Say you have an investigation of a local pastor and being charged with possession of kiddie pornography. How difficult is that going to be because of that person's job, their position in the community, to be found that they betrayed everyone and they have kiddie pornography, right? That person is going to be really upset. And if you show a little compassion, and does it matter? No, it's not real. You're showing compassion to get a confession. And that's hard sometimes for officers to understand. We do what we have to do to get the confession, everything we can legally. And if I play up to this person and I show them some compassion, listen, it must be really hard, Pastor, that this happened. I mean, you're a guy that's respected and everybody loves you and they trust you and these kids come to you. This has to be really difficult to deal with, right? Showing a little compassion. So I would link this together as an example for that guy. Pastor, I know people saw these images on your computer and we have the computer now. We're going to do a search warrant on it. We're going to find out what's in it. Is it possible that there are images on there of kiddie pornography, but is it possible that you were going to create some kind of a program to tell the community why this is bad and dangerous to protect these kids? Is that possible? Is that what you were going to do? Now, what that does is it may sound absurd to us, but to someone who's having great jeopardy, facing serious consequences, when they start to hear these things, wow, if the cop's giving me a great lie. Oh, I can say, yeah, I was doing a program, I was going to do a safety program and I was researching, and that's why it's on my computer. Number one, is it on the computer? Yes. Did he say he knows it's on the computer? Great. We put them at the scene of the crime and doing something. Initially, I don't care what they tell me, as long as they put themselves there and they did something. then my investigation is going to show that they did it for a bad reason, right? So we need to get the confession or the admission. And how do we do that? Use the big four. Understand, jeopardy motivates everything. Cognitive dissonance is a physical example when they're answering questions that there's deception. Diminish the words you use, make it sound less bad, right? Offer possibilities to them. Is it possibly that this happened for some other reason than you're a bad person? Number three, offer alternatives to help them work their way through it. And four, show compassion to the person, right? Our goal as investigators is to get that person, to put them at the scene of the crime doing something, and for us to get a confession or admission so we can hold them accountable for the crimes they commit. Every conversation is an interview. These skills are vital to every officer, no matter what you do. And you want to make sure that whatever you do, you're good at it. So get the book, right? The Interview from Blue 360 Media. They're also one of our sponsors. RiotTint.com, one of our sponsors. Excellent. Go check out their products for safety and security, help your schools and all your businesses. And MedicalEssentialDiagnostics.com. They provide a health screening for you at no cost to you to keep you alive. They bring this show to you, and I'm grateful to them. So go get the book, become a great interviewer, and get admissions and confessions so you can serve the public well. Until we meet again, my friends, we'll see you down the road.